By the year 2006, Nintendo had arrived on the scene with the Nintendo DS, a new system that was making huge waves among the handheld world, and as of now is pretty much ruling it with an iron fist. But during the whole Game Boy Advance DS changeover, Nintendo published a new Pokemon game based on the Chunsoft series, and I hope I'm pronouncing that and the name of this game right. The Chunsoft series Fushigi no Dungeon, which is a dungeon crawling series that they produced games in for a ton of different franchises, now including the Pokemon franchise. So in this game, which is Red Rescue Team for Game Boy Advance and Blue Rescue Team for the DS, yes, they decided to make them on both systems for some reason, though the game is virtually identical except for some basic graphical differences. DS can handle a lot more. For example, basic gist of the game is the player answers some questions and starts off actually as a human turned into a Pokemon. That's right. There aren't really any Pokemon trainers in the game, just a bunch of Pokemon running around in a Pokemon village or something like that. But anyway, how you answer the question changes which Pokemon you start off as. It also determines your buddy. So basically you start off with you and your buddy. And you go around and do missions in a semi-turn-based battle system in dungeons. And that's basically the gist of the game. After you beat the game, you can actually evolve your Pokemon, but not until then for some reason, which would annoy the hell out of me had I actually played the game. That's basically the gist of that. This has gone on to be a successful series, and the fact that it has sold millions, not nearly as much as the core Pokemon franchise, but obviously still enough to make 2 different sequels now. So there was a sequel that came out for Diamond, based upon new characters in Diamond and Pearl, and it looks like there's going to be one coming out for Platinum for some reason. But reception for these games were mediocre. You know, I think the gaming press is not unlike myself in the fact that we're not too impressed with the games that aren't the actual Pokemon games usually. Some games are rather unique, like Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium when it came out for the first time, but this one was unique, I guess, but not necessarily the greatest way in the world, so yeah. 2006 also came the introduction of the Pokemon Ranger series, which was for the DS, and which was supposed to be, I guess it's technically the 4th generation, but it came to the United States before Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. So I'm calling it the 3rd generation. I don't want to make a separate video for it anyway. Pokemon Ranger is a truly DS game in the fact that it would not be able to be played on any other system because it involves mostly around the stylus. In fact, I may as well get my DS and show you what the hell I'm talking about. In Pokemon Ranger, you don't necessarily capture Pokemon per se. There's always a plushly or a minus with you depending on what character you get, the boy or the girl. But you're going around and you're actually catching Pokemon and solving missions by using the stylus. For example, the Pokemon would be on the bottom screen doing different things, trying to evade your capture. And in order to capture them, you'd actually draw circles around the stylus. Wow, that's dirty. Around the Pokemon with your stylus. So that's basically how that works, really. That's about it for Pokemon Ranger. I really don't have anything else to say about that. I think it sold about 3 million copies so far, so again, a success. But this one was a little better received by critics, in the fact that it was, you know, it was unique. The graphics were a hell of a lot better than Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team. And it was an interesting concept. This is what the DS was built for, to do these interesting things with the touchscreen and all that. There was some criticism for, well, if you're going like this on the touchscreen and you're doing it hard, you're probably going to hurt it at a certain point. Scratches, breaking, that sort of thing. Which, you know, I think the new DS has helped out a bit. So that was the Pokemon Ranger series. It involves another evil team that wants to control some legendary Pokemon and attack the town, but then pretend to save it by calling them off, and so they'd be heroes. But of course, you foil that, and blah 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 blah. That's Pokemon Ranger. These 2 games came out between, you know, the core games in in the Ruby Sapphire generation and Diamond and Pearl. So they're kind of, you know, they helped the wait not seem as long for some of the younger participants in the Pokemon franchise, but I didn't get either of them. I wasn't impressed, you know. Hell, I didn't have a DS until Diamond and Pearl came out, which I will tell you all about when we'll talk about Diamond and Pearl, which I guess is going to be next, because that's pretty much wraps it up for the third generation. Talked about the core games in the franchise. Talked about the new introductions of the new aspects of the game that they introduced. Talked about a couple of the side games that they made. So that's pretty much it. I hope you've enjoyed this third generation. Next time, it'll be the final generation, for now, of Pokemon. The fourth generation, Diamond and Pearl. Getting back to the glory.